Hobby Lobby argued that morning after pills are comparable to abortion by preventing fertilized eggs to implant. However, the court ruled that companies still have to pay for other religiously questioned health coverage, like blood transfusions and vaccines.
So my question would be, why not? What makes those beliefs any less valid than those of one small sect of one particular religion?
It's a battle with a demon. If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Get out there on Christian Mingle, create a profile, and start trolling.
No, I hope nobody has your back on this one. You sick bastard. We're practically NPR.
And welcome to Atheist Airwaves on Secular FM, your source for secular
Try that again, Jay.
Welcome to Atheist Airwaves on Secular...
Wait a minute. You gotta start clean because I forgot to press pause.
You mean record?
Pause.
Welcome to Atheist Airwaves on Secular FM, your source for a secular perspective on news, religious idiocy, despicable hilarity, and other such things. I'm Jay Guerrero.
I'm Christian Ferris.
I'm Jeff Grime.
And I'm Susan Turpin. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching for Atheist Airwaves. We record live every Tuesday at 7:30 Central, so if you're listening via podcast, we encourage you to join us in the Ustream chat room. Catch all the really fun things that don't make it to the recorded version.
For very good reasons.
For very, very good reasons.
You haven't heard the last episode. I bleeped out all of that thing. It's like
all of what thing?
Your little baby thing. I bleeped all of
really?
that. I kept it in. I just bleeped it out. Excellent. It was awesome. So anyway, our intro audio this week is obviously about the Hobby Lobby rule. About the Hobby. Wow. Can anyone say that word for me?
Hobby Lobby?
Hobby Lobby. About the Hobby Lobby ruling that came down from the U.S. Supreme Court yesterday. Being interviewed by local television on the topic was our own Amanda Stevens.
Woo-hoo. Golf club.
Yeah.
This is like episode 41 of Atheist Airwaves, and in that time we've had 4 of our hosts on local television. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we are.
Yes.
Yeah, we are great communicators, as demonstrated by my ability to say Hobby Lobby.
Obviously.
Jeff, you're a lawyer. Why don't you sum up the Supreme Court ruling for us?
Well, I think to be clear, the ruling was it wasn't based on the First Amendment. It wasn't based on the Free Exercise Clause. It was based only on the Religious Freedom of Reformation Act,
right?
Which is, I mean, it kind of makes it narrow, except the messed up part about it is that they basically accorded a privately held corporation religious rights, which is insane.
Giving them even more personhood.
Exactly.
Really,
exactly.
Really
I mean, that started with the Citizens United ruling, which.
Although I got to say, what happens when you have a family-owned business like Hobby Lobby, and they're all Christians? And what happens if the company decides, I really feel like I'm a Muslim, and the company says that renounces their Christianity? I mean, does the board have any recourse for that?
And that's the thing. That's the thing with the actually.
I love the puzzled looks on my face. That's a joke.
I'm just like, what? Hold on.
Oddly enough, I'm reading up on this. Hobby Lobby, they've actually all signed things saying that this is the only way it's going to be. Whoa. So if somebody on the board starts going crazy,
Hare Krishna,
there's a way to get rid of them.
Wow.
I mean, the whole corporate structure of Hobby Lobby is set up around being religious, and
evangelical Christianity.
It's nuts. It's nuts. And
wow.
But the ruling, what's messed up about the ruling on this one, is that it's set up to be, the claim of it. And if you listened to the Stevens interview, mm-hmm. She makes the point that Justice Ginsburg made in her dissent, which was, look, if you're going to do this, what about all the other things that come under this? What about blood transfusions? What about all of the other things that can come under it?
Vaccines.
Right. And the way that it's postured in the ruling itself, the main opinion is, look, that's never going to happen. This is a narrow ruling, which is crap.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's setting precedents for any other all these things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, because it struck me a little bit of like the Bush v. Gore ruling, where they actually made it. It just applies here, but they messed this up. It clearly you can use the same logic that they're using in this ruling to other cases, right?
You can use it in a lot of different cases, in a lot of different ones that have nothing to do with healthcare.
Right.
That's the messed up part, because this is like an extension of Citizens United in terms of giving corporations more rights. It's also messed up because it's just the language on it, the language in it when it talked about the Religious Freedom and Reformation Act made it sound like it is way more extensive than religious freedoms that are given in the First Amendment. Mm-hmm. So basically what they're saying is, look, your individual religious freedoms are so much greater than just the First Amendment if you're looking at this act. So the potential scariness of this is huge, and I think that that's going to be the scarier part of it than just giving corporations more power.
Right.
Because the corporations getting more power, I think that's something that people are guarding against, and I think that we're gonna
put them up.
In.
We're gonna put them up against the wall, and we're gonna execute them, and we're gonna take the country back.
The crazy thing about this is that individuals have been shot down constantly in terms of their religious freedoms, be it atheists or anybody else. And the Supreme Court rulings on the First Amendment had been restricting it. That's why this was introduced, and it had been narrowly, it had been looked at pretty narrowly up until this point. And on this one, they had so many hoops to jump through in order to get the result that they were. That's, in law, we call that, it's outcome determinative. Mm-hmm. They decided this is the result we want. And so we're going to string together this line. And I think it's dangerous.
It seems to me to be a very political decision and not a jurisprudential position.
Okay, so is there some sort of recourse? Is there an appeals process that could potentially be reversed? Or this is done? This
is the appeals process. The only thing that can happen is it comes before the Supreme Court again, and they say, "Yeah, we messed up."
Yeah.
But the other thing is, since this wasn't based on constitutional grounds, this particular ruling can be kicked back pretty easily. The problem with this is not because if Obamacare had said, "Look, everybody gets access to all these particular types of birth control," if the Affordable Care Act had actually said that word for word, then it would have had precedence over the Religious Freedom and Reformation Act because it's later enacted. But what they did, what the Affordable Care Act did, is it gave power to Health and Human Services to determine, hey, these are the things that people need.
Right.
This is what is important. And because it was a regulatory agency that was coming in and doing it, and not the act itself saying, hey, guess what? We think that Congress is saying, we think these things are important and you're going to get them. The regulatory agency's authority can't exceed the previous act.
Right. And so, I think even the court said that they think that there is a need for this sort of thing and that the government should provide it. And if we had a sane Congress right now, I think what everyone would do is go back and say, okay, we'll find a different way of providing this that frees Hobby Lobby from doing that. But it's not going to happen in this political environment.
Or Congress can even say, because it's a previous congressional act, Congress can even say, guess what, guys? You're going to provide it. There's nothing constitutional based on this. So in the future, this stuff can pretty easily be changed. This isn't based on the First Amendment. It's just it's a very broad statutory interpretation. So we get a good Congress in. It's something, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't hold your breath. But it is something that can be done. But I think this is real dangerous. I really do. I don't ring alarm bells, very often. But I think that the direction this court is going in, the direction this Congress is going in, this is just, this should be a call to arms. It really should. Right. And I saw that sentiment, I think, a little bit on Facebook, but I think it has to play out. I really do. I think this is one that says, look, guys, you have to get out there. You have to vote. You have to make noise. You have to riot on this. Because the sentiment here, the way the Supreme Court is going, the way that they're looking at trying to enforce their agenda, we can't have a Republican president in next time.
Yeah, I would say that I think the Obamacare ruling that the Supreme Court came out with told me that John Roberts cares about the reputation of his court. So I think there's, maybe something there. And that was the only thing in my head, because I expected this decision. But that was the only thing in my head was maybe Roberts cares enough that he's not going to go down this path. But the other really interesting thing that I've seen is that I think since the 60s, the Supreme Court has sided with corporations less than 50% of the time. And since Roberts took over the court, it's like 88% or something like that. It's ridiculous. So, I mean, this is a court that is, to me, really dangerous to our way of life. I think the answer is really obvious at this point, but I do want to ask it. What is the answer to Amanda's question? What does everyone think? What is the difference between the religious belief that contraceptives are pure evil and the religious belief that vaccines or blood transfusions are pure evil?
I don't see a difference,
I don't
honestly.
either.
And the majority opinion said there was, but it didn't really explain it.
That's what bugs me about the idea of the majority having that much sort of power over everything. And I know that's sort of how everything works, but just because these people think this way doesn't necessarily mean that it's correct. Like, they have such a misunderstanding of science, and the whole deal that they had was, the two forms of the emergency contraception and the two IUDs, and they're saying, no, they're abortifacients, and, they technically terminate pregnancies, and it's like, no, they don't. A pregnancy does not actually begin until a fertilized egg is implanted into the uterine wall. It prevents the fertilized egg from actually implanting.
This is a really good point you're making, Turpin. And the written story that they did used a quote of Amanda's that I thought was even better than the one that we heard on the air. And she said of the religious right, quote, "I don't doubt that their beliefs are sincerely held. That they're not medically or scientifically accurate is an issue with me." And that's the big thing. I've been talking to people online all day who don't understand what the pill does, who don't understand that what it does is prevent ovulation and prevent sperm from easily traveling through the cervix, who don't understand that Plan B does not cause an abortion.
It's not the abortion pill.
Right, right. This is the Catholic Church, I think, is vexed that 99 no Catholics give a shit about their little contraceptive rule. None of them do. They all use it. I mean, we had a couple of weeks ago, we had a Catholic on our show, and he doesn't care. And so I think that they've been trying to run this end run around the whole thing and saying, ooh, this is an abortion pill, and we're going to equate it with all these other things. And that's how they're trying to get their faithful on board by saying this isn't contraceptive, this is an abortion, and it's not.
And that's a point that I've actually seen made a lot about the composition of the current Supreme Court in terms of there being 5 Catholics on it.
Yeah,
insane. How does that happen?
Right, and that's I kind of want to use this to jump back to a previous point you made, Jeff. So the voting process has led us to a point where we have a Congress and a Supreme Court that's just out of their friggin' minds. So it should be a call to arms at some point. This is more than just a convenience that's being stripped from potentially thousands upon thousands of people. Mm-hmm. What means are you suggesting that we take in order to make ourselves heard that this is unacceptable?
I think that's it. I mean, I think we have to be out there saying it. I think we need to make the point that you have to vote. And I just think everybody doing it needs to be out there and rallying everybody to go.
What we need is a constitutional amendment that strips corporations of most of their
totally agree.
Their personhood rights. So movetoamend.org is like the biggest one out there. So please go sign up there and show your support. But I think that's it.
That I would get behind. That I would go and I would absolutely. That would affect real change.
But you have to vote for people who are going to support it.
Exactly. Tea Partiers aren't going to do the trick for us.
Yeah. Okay. And neither are people who don't feel the pressure to support it. So you got to vote for people who are gonna promise that that's what they're gonna pursue. And this is a bipartisan issue. I know a lot of Republicans. Well, I don't know a lot of Republicans, period, but I know Republicans who are also disturbed at this corporate personhood thing. I mean, there are very real reasons that companies need to have certain rights, but they're not people.
Well,
that's crazy town.
I think the problem with that is, and the reason that's not getting any play in Congress, is that they're all getting all of their money from corporations.
Yeah,
Absolutely. You have to take the money out of the political game in order to affect real long-standing change.
we're a plutocracy.
Absolutely.
And that is the biggest, I think, the biggest problem we face as a country.
Which is why voting is not going to help, in my opinion. When the money is there, it doesn't matter.
It does, because if you're swayed by money, and this is why I think that what Jeff is saying is that things are coming to a head. People are like, this is some fucking bullshit right here. When the votes are not lining up behind the ad dollars, then they have to listen. And so until people start voting and voting often, we talked last week about Wendy Davis, 600,000 people who have never voted before have to vote in this election for her to win. That's not going to happen because people say, well, voting's not going to do anything. But if people stop freaking saying that, it would happen.
It has to be grassroots. You saw that start with Obama. I think there's a potential for it to happen. But people have to recognize what's going on. I think that's the problem.
I think it's beyond a vote at this point.
Well, the only way to change it is through a vote.
Right. I mean, okay. Jay, go ahead and call for armed revolution in the country, and I'll bleep it out.
we saw how that worked with the Tea Party.
Right. Yeah, it does not work out very well.
So did anybody notice some of the other arguments that people were using sort of to get around getting their birth control? How a lot of people were saying, oh, well, they can just pay for stuff out of pocket, or they can just pay for it themselves, and it's kind of, or you can just not work for Hobby Lobby.
Paying for it through your insurance company is paying for it yourself. You pay for your insurance. I really hate that frickin' argument that people are using, like, well, just pay for your own. Two things. First of all, birth control pills are not exclusively for sex. They are used for a great number of medical.
They're highly useful.
Yes.
Ovarian cysts and endometriosis. There's 14% of women are on the pill just for those.
And medical insurance is not a fucking gift. You are paying for it. This is you spending your money to buy your contraceptives or your medication. And this is what really drives me up the wall, is that they're pretending that this is the bad sex thing. It's not necessarily that. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with sex at all. Blah.
Now, but to be fair, the ones that were included here were not the regular pill.
Now, this is right. These were all like Plan B and things like that. But I have to say at the same time, because I was saying before the show that I've been really frustrated talking to a bunch of dudes about this issue all day today and yesterday, who don't understand what the pill is, who don't understand what Plan B does. But the worst conversation I've had has been with a woman who doesn't understand the same things. And
it's appalling that men don't understand that, but even more so that a woman, any woman should know.
Right, and she was
at least have a basic understanding of what they do.
No one knows what's going on in this country. So she was saying, well, if you want your free contraceptives, just go to Planned Parenthood. It's like, you fucking can't go to Planned Parenthood. It's been defunded in this state. She's like, well, that's because it wasn't safe. It's like, no, that's not why. People don't know what they've been doing. This is a concerted effort to strip these things out of our system. And they pretend like, because I could not get her to stop saying abortion, because it has nothing to do with abortion. This has everything to do with access to healthcare and medicine. That's it.
And if you think about it in a way, the people who are complaining the most about this are ones that are not going to be affected by a ruling like this, because they are not sort of the low-income women who are having to take whatever job they can get. They are not the women who, have to be on birth control so they don't have another kid. So, they might be on a really, really tight budget, and getting an extra $115 a month, to pay for whatever, or getting the $800 that you have to pay for an IUD, that's just completely impossible for them.
I think the one thing, I think what's really going to happen here is that the setup of it is going to have to be changed by Health and Human Services. I imagine the way they're going to do it for this class of privately held companies, which is currently 4, I imagine they're going to treat them just like they do actual religious institutions, and they still get all of these important services. But guess who eats it? It's the insurance companies that eat it.
Sure.
And in the end, that means we're the ones who eat it. It's everybody else's insurance that pays for this.
Eat it, Jay. Sorry.
Okay.
Josie316 in the chat room says that she's not sure what else an IUD could be used for, and I just think that's a failure of imagination. One thing I wanted to talk about before we move on is just to address...
It's an improvised unexplosive device.
It was bunk.
Just talk about the biggest talking points that I've seen going around the dumbosphere in the last day.
In the what?
I'm calling it the dumbosphere. I just made it up just on the spot.
I like it.
Freaking dumb people who repeat stupid crap that they hear from people who are making them think dumb things.
In a vacuum of bad information.
So, everyone has that crazy uncle who comes over and says the crazy teabagger uncle. No, really? You don't have any teabagger relatives, really?
I don't know if they are or not because I don't talk to them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's a better policy.
You can borrow my whole family.
My mom gives me Glenn Beck books, so this is where I come from.
You're going to say Glenn Beck eyes.
Those be angry eyes.
So their talking point right now is that first of all, this only affects 4 out of the 20 possible contraceptives, and those 4 are just the abortifacient drugs. So first of all, crazy Uncle Earl doesn't know what an abortifacient is. Those are pre-pregnancy drugs. They do not abort a pregnancy. They stop pregnancies from occurring. So tell him that.
Contraceptive.
Right, exactly.
Look it up.
And the other thing is that this ruling covers all of them. It doesn't matter what Hobby Lobby or whatever that other stupid company was concerned about, because there are 2 companies, and that's something that crazy Uncle Earl doesn't know about. He only knows Hobby Lobby. But it covers all of them. You can find, because of this ruling, Hobby Lobby can turn around and say, all 20, done. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Supreme Court clarified today that the ruling does apply to every form of birth control.
It gives them absolute discretion over birth control.
So, and, Hobby Lobby covered all of them right up until they decided they were going to sue. This was a purely political piece of crap move.
And what's even better is I believe it's like their pensions or something are funded by investing in pharmaceutical companies.
Right. I saw something about that.
Pharmaceutical companies that produce the contraceptives and stuff like the actual abortion pill.
Yeah, that goes back, and Josie316 said this in the chat room as well. It's
That's
not
a
about
much
anything. It's
better way to-
about
sorry.
sex. It's about sex, and I mean, I think it goes beyond that. I think it's actually about control.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, I think it really is about theocracy. Really, they want to set up their own. They want to set.
I was waiting for a silence.
They want to set up their own little theocracy feudal system where, if they can't get the government to overturn the Constitution, well, by golly, they're going to set up their own little corner of the universe where they can do that.
Can I set up my own corner of the universe where I do what I want?
Yes. I will not visit.
It has to be next to a black hole.
That's fun.
That's racist.
All my things
Okay.
are That's fun.
So here's
You mean a brown hole?
No. We are not putting words in my mouth.
So the other thing that I want to mention is that A, Hobby Lobby invests in companies that make all of these things. They get money from all of these things. B, they get a lot of their goods from China. And China
I'll go pass out some tea.
We don't have to pay them a living wage. If we pay them a living wage, then they're going to go out and buy birth control.
Oh no.
That's against our
We can't have that.
strongly held religious beliefs.
All right, are we
You know,
done
there's a
with this?
solution for all of this, right?
Killing them all?
Right.
Why am I not surprised?
That was the burn down Hobby Lobby thing we were talking about last night.
Yeah. I volunteered for firebomb tech lead.
They're like cockroaches. They're everywhere. So, I mean, that's going to be a big job, man.
Well, I mean, Terminex makes money, right? I mean, we could potentially profit.
Hobby Lobbies do have lots of flammables.
It's true, they do. We could make them in the store.
Molotov cocktail?
I have to say, and I'm calling her Josie316 because I think that's hilarious now. But she said in the chat room, she says it's about punishing women for sex because babies are punishments, not people. And I think that's absolutely right because you look at what they do with the HPV vaccine, they're against removing punishments for having sex. And babies are punishments. That's brilliant. I wish I had thought of it.
I totally agree. Babies are punishments.
I disagree. I have two of them, but
They're fucking evil.
No, I love my kids. But anyway,
But not
let's
other
move-
people's kids. You only love your kids.
That's true.
You're such a prick.
Well, no, I like Jeff's kids because he's within arm reach. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, okay. Not sure where you're going with that.
All right, so let's move on. I think we've
Okay,
pummeled that one to death.
Yeah, let's move on. 30
So
minutes.
this next one is kind of complicated, and I don't know that I can sum it up quickly. This story is on its surface about how tricky polling can be. The United States National Science Foundation has asked Americans about evolution for many, many years. And they asked them, true or false, human beings as we know them today developed from earlier species of animals. And in their surveys in 2006, 2008, and 2010, fewer than half of those surveys answered that question correctly. In 2012, though, they changed the question that they asked, and they made it a little different. They said, true or false, according to the theory of evolution, human beings as we know them today developed from earlier species. Only 48% got the original question, but when they added the according to the theory of evolution, that rate jumped to like 72%.
It's a matter of qualification of your question.
Right. So basically, before people were saying, no, I don't believe that. And then after they were saying,
I understand that.
I understand the science. I just think it's horse shit.
Right.
Enter Dr. Dan Kahan, who is a Yale law professor and communication researcher. He has done some interesting research that suggests that it's, let me back up just a little bit. Like I said, this is a really weird
It is very
story.
complicated. I read the whole thing and I had to read it like twice to fully comprehend.
I did too. And I had to do tons more research on the way over here. People know the facts about evolution and climate change and things like that. It's just that they just don't believe them. And then when you separated them out into liberals and conservatives, liberals actually did much better. They, that sounded like a bong in the headphones. Dan Kahan's research shows that conservatives suck at this. They suck at science. But what he was able to show was that it's not that conservatives are necessarily more stupid than liberals, but more that liberals and conservatives both align the acceptance of facts with their ideological identities. Does that make sense? Jay, you're my sounding board here.
No, it only makes sense because I sat there and fucking read it like 17 times. It's tough to comprehend.
Yeah.
That's actually exactly what I got from it. And it really seems like people are so afraid of, agreeing with the scientific consensus and not saying, okay, I actually, agree with that humans evolved from a common ancestor and everything. But they think that somehow if they agree on stuff like climate change and evolution and everything, that their friends and their family are all of a sudden going to doubt who they are as people. It's about their identities.
Exactly. They have more of an issue going on record when someone asks them a question like, do you agree with this versus do you understand this?
Right.
If they're going on record as saying that, then there's a potential backlash from them saying yes to one question versus they have an argument to say, well, all I said was I understand it.
It's in-group, out-group politics. And one of the things that I was thinking on the way over here was that this makes a lot of sense in terms of why, and I'm going on a total tangent. It's not total tangent, but it's a tangent. Why an atheist community is so important, because you are going, if you're a religious person in a religious community, you're going to be very loath to let go of that, to admit the fact that you're an atheist or you have doubts, because that will turn the entire community against you. And unless you have another branch to grab onto, which would be an atheist community, you're going to run every single rationalization you possibly can to keep yourself in that in-group.
You either have to have courage and bravery, or you have to just not give a shit what people think about you in order to step out there and say those things and say, yes, I am this, I am a part of this, and this is what I believe. I don't care if it's against your ideals or you're the norm. Right. So yeah, that's 100% accurate.
So I think that's part of it, but I think they're being asked this on a survey. Okay, there's no repercussions for answering something on a survey. True. I think that the people honestly believe this. They understand, and the byline of this was, conservatives don't deny climate science because they're ignorant. My answer to that is no, they do it because they're stupid. The stuff is presented to them. It's almost worse to me that they have the truth before them. They understand what climate scientists say, but yet they choose to go with what the folks on Fox News are saying.
Yeah, and they're the ones who are saying that, all these liberals are lying and they just want to manipulate everybody into believing all this stuff about climate change and everything, and they're in their dumbosphere. Like you said earlier, they are getting the same information from all sides that, evolution's wrong. Exactly. Yeah.
Let me tell you where it gets scary, though, because I was tempted to agree with you, and when I started reading this, that's exactly where I was going, Jeff. But when they gave them tests that were non-political, non-ideological, the biggest determiner of whether they would get the answers to these science questions right or wrong. And they were hypothetical, fictitious things where they had to just analyze made up data. The biggest determiner of whether they would get it right or wrong was math skills. If they were strong at math, they would determine it correctly. However, they made it political, like gun control or climate change. Math skills stopped mattering entirely. In fact, people with great math skills did worse if the analysis ended up contradicting their ideology. So, I mean,
it's an
even liberals, so not just conservatives, but liberals also.
I think it has a lot to do with the emotional response versus the logical response of when presented with a question, regardless of what that question is, presented with the stats and the data, if there's some sort of emotional response that's tied to it, if it elicits some sort of reaction on an emotional level, then it changes the decision-making process.
Yeah. It scares the shit out of me. This scares, and I read an analysis of this by Ezra Klein, and he was interviewing this Dr. Dan Kahan about it, and was talking about Alito and saying, isn't this what he's doing on the bench is exactly what you're talking about? And Ezra Klein was like, the guy was visibly taken aback, because it's exactly what he's doing. Is he's fitting the evidence and rejecting evidence that does not agree with his ideology, and he's making policy for the entire country. This scares the crap out of me.
There's a solution for that.
Yes, I do. And the other thing that I would say is that it scares me for me, because then I'm thinking, how am I doing this? And I'm already, I mean, when we talked to Greta Christina, I was telling her about how I was freaked out for days when she was talking about rationalizing decisions that you've already made, and how it doesn't matter what you decide or what the repercussions are, you're going to find some way of making it the best thing you could have possibly done. My psyche over the last month has been completely shattered, because now I'm like, how am I fooling myself? And I know I'm doing it.
No, we
Absolutely.
we absolutely all do it. Go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing. We
Yeah.
all do it. That's the way it goes. This type of thinking is exactly what my profession is based on.
No, you're right. And
I got to tell you, the one time I was on jury duty, I mean, and
what's that?
people who have IDs that match up with their actual physical address, we get letters. And but I mean, the defense attorney was way too flipping obvious, because I mean, the whole time he was talking from over here, and then when he put his it was a murder trial, and he put his client on the stand, and he moved very distinctly so that the defendant would be looking at the jury rather than what had been, which was away for everybody else. And like, for me anyway, it broke the whole thing. I was like, I know exactly why you're doing that.
Right.
And it's not freaking working with me, bro. But I mean, that kind of stuff works with people.
No, there are. This actually happened last night. I was having a
Wait,
discussion.
you were in a jury last night?
No. I was having a discussion with an amazingly, scarily brilliant human being who is trained to manipulate people. That by education and by profession, they're a psychologist, and they work with people with like fears and things like that. Just absolute crazy fears and phobias to get them over this. So they're trained to manipulate them and create a better person out of them. But they were explaining the mechanics of how these things work, and how you can manipulate them very, very easily by little tricks like that. And if you add all these little tricks up, you can do scary things to human beings very, very easily.
Yeah. I mean, our whole commercial society is based on, finding out what people react to and then giving them that. And you can control what they do. And it scares the hell out of me.
Well, and in a jury, I'm surprised you made it onto a jury. Honestly, I mean, really, no.
I'm going to say because I was surprised as well. I think the reason it happened was because he was an IT professional at the time I was in IT. And I think the defense attorney was like, I want someone who's just like this guy. And I don't know why the prosecution let me on, but
that had to have been it. I would have tried the entire case to you, honestly. And it would have been. It's the same thing with me. If I were on a jury, the jury's going to go the way I say it goes. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, it's got to be some extraordinary people on it who, in order to not go the way that I want it to go.
So you're saying you're a damn good lawyer?
Well, no. I mean, if I'm on the, you're going up against another attorney. So it's, when you're an attorney, you never know exactly what's going on there. But if I'm in the jury room after it, it's going to go the way I want it to go. It's that simple.
Yeah, I agree entirely. I mean, I don't know. But I think as a skeptic, I am a little inoculated, because like I said, I think, I noticed things like what this defense attorney was doing. I noticed things like that because I think about these issues. So I'm a little bit inoculated, I think, but I know that I'm not catching all of it. And I think this is why knowing these things is so important to being a human being in our era, because holy cow,
we're subjected to it on a daily basis, and in ways that you don't even realize, just driving down the road with billboards and advertisements and things like that. Absolutely. It's all over the place.
So this is what I was thinking, though, as a result of this study, which is, what is the cause of ideological identity? Is this like, do people have a genetically predisposed identity that makes them immune to facts, like conservatives, or are they simply genetically disposed to believe other people in a certain way?
I think they're genetically disposed to absorption of information and certain ways that they absorb information. Some people are they can learn better orally or learn better tactily or some of those things. Don't you making you're
I learn better orally, Jay.
Orally.
Oh, orally. Okay.
But no, I think we got a hum.
Yeah, what is that? That's probably your mic. Yeah, it's your mic. There you go. I have to say, the chat room is like really tripping out over when you vape in front of the webcam. So,
Really?
Oh yeah,
Cool,
I
keep
think it's
it
really
up.
trippy. Yeah.
Awesome. They got the good drugs. Damn you! You stole them all from me. Okay, so are we gonna actually go to some of the stories we have, or are we just gonna
I know,
go for the
right?
first two?
Why don't we take our break and then move on to the next story?
Okay, hold on. Let me find the break. So Corpus Christi Atheist meets every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. This weekend we're going to be at Executive Surf Club. That is downtown on Water Street, correct?
Correct.
Okay, if you have any questions or forget that, go to ccatheist.com for a list of our public events, or you can connect with our affiliates via southtexascor.com.
And look up the Atheist Airwaves Facebook page. We've got actually a really
Don't do that.
we've got a growing community there. It's like really cool.
No, don't do that. We don't want it to grow anymore.
Okay. Yeah. No, don't. Whatever you do, don't go to Atheist Airwaves on Facebook. Don't do it.
See, we're playing the game now.
People scare me.
We're gonna have 300 people by tomorrow.
All right, so let's talk about some other shit.
All right, so the late great Carl Sagan actually once called astrology a strange discipline, a mixture of careful observation, mathematics, and record keeping, but rife with fuzzy thinking and pious fraud. And it may not seem all that bad to those who just sort of casually read their horoscopes. The National Science Foundation actually recently conducted a poll that showed that more than 40% of Americans are under the impression that astrology is actually science.
That blows my mind.
That's the highest level since 1983.
We have a hard time making that many people think actual science is science. That's absolutely crazy.
And what's even better is back in 2011, they did this shifting, of the zodiac signs and adding one. Yeah. So, what you previously thought about you as, me as a Capricorn, oh my God, all of a sudden I was going to be, yes.
Oh my God.
You know everything about me based on me when I was born and how the planets were aligned.
Wait, which are you in the Chinese zodiac? You like a monkey or a
I
tiger?
think technically I'm a tiger because the Chinese zodiac, their years.
Are we really talking about this?
You're a unicorn.
Is this really? No. Is this really something we're going to talk about?
Yes, it is. Damn it. No, it does. It bugs the shit out of me when people are. Never mind. I'm going off on a tangent. I'll shut up.
So no. People genuinely believe that the alignment of the planets and at the date and time that they were born really can affect who they are in life, and they take it into consideration whenever they're making really big life decisions, whenever they're, I had this tragedy happen, this is why it happened because Mercury was rising or something, in the wrong house. I actually see a girl on Twitter talk about this stuff all the time, and otherwise she has a really good head on her shoulders, but I'm just why the fuck do you believe in this shit? I cannot even.
Because of exactly what we were just talking about.
That's very much true. It's actually helpful for me in some instances, being that
oh, fuck you.
No, it's helpful.
Okay.
Whoa.
I hate astrology.
No,
so
I hate it too. It bugs the shit out of me. But it's really helpful in the dating pool because you can instantly go, okay, bye.
Well,
what sign are you? If they're super into it, you're just
right.
All right.
Later.
Back slowly
we're good.
away.
We're good. No.
That's actually exactly what I have in my little
really
right up here. I know that if a girl tells me she's a Scorpio, I want to stay away from her.
Just because she knows what
it's
sign.
the same if she says she's a Capricorn or whatever else.
Right.
Yeah.
Although, I guess, so one of the things that, really stuck out to me about this is that people who believe this start to believe things about other people, but they also start believing things about themselves based on these things. So
they adopt those preconceptions.
Right. Yeah. Exactly right.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
So, you can know that you hate Capricorns because you know what they're going to think of themselves and you know what they're going to, how they're going to craft their behavior to be totally crappy.
But what's funny is...
I'm so kidding.
Is it pick on Susan Day here?
Since pre-show, I don't know why, but it's just one of those days.
It'll turn into Hug Susan Day. It's okay.
I love Capricorns.
Go fuck yourself.
He was doing that earlier.
So what? Oh my God.
What, you didn't feel that?
No. So to me, astrology and its false comfort and false hope really remind me a lot of religion, because people start to form opinions and things that they do in their lives based on this set of preconceived notions and who they are supposed to be, like you were saying.
Right.
Apparently, I'm supposed to be patient and, and ambitious, but I can also be dictatorial and conceited.
Okay, I know those two.
Go
Those
fuck
two.
yourself. And
So did you do one for each of us?
No,
Oh, damn.
I can do that right now though.
It sounds like a fun game. I mean, we're not going to get through all the stories. Let's just do
Yeah,
it.
what the hell?
Let's
Here, one of the things that I want to say while she's looking that up is that what I find about astrology, what I find so disturbing is the same thing that I find disturbing about biblical morality, which is just that it's based on nothing. I mean, it's literally random, and you're going to craft what you think is right or wrong, or what you think people should act like, or what you should act like, based on nothing.
It's a friggin' fortune cookie.
And I really think everybody, if you have not already watched the original Cosmos, it's episode 3, wherever Carl Sagan talks about astrology the whole time, and he's just like, dude, really? Like,
No, I
it's
haven't.
amazing, and I love it.
Wow, there is like some serious sharing going on in the chat room. Josie316 is saying that when she was 11 or 12, her zodiac sign changed from Leo to Virgo because the dates changed. I don't know what that means. But she says that she changed too, never mind the domestic violence that also happened happen around that time. Tell us more, and how do you feel about your mother?
Anyway, so Christian, when's your birthday?
December 16th.
December 16th. That's going to make you a Sagittarius, apparently.
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
What does that mean for me?
Okay, you are freedom-loving, optimistic, and honest.
It does not even say that.
No, I swear to
It does not say that.
Freedom-loving, optimistic, and honest Sagittarians
Optimistic?
are ruled by Jupiter, the planet of abundance and higher learning. The
Well,
wisdom
that
of
part's
Jupiter imbibes Sagittarians.
Okay, Mr. Confirmation Bias over here, or whatever the not confirmation bias, but
But no, they lost me at optimist. I'm
Yeah,
like the biggest
that's-
pessimist, cynical motherfucker who
That's
ever
the one that got
won.
me.
Yeah.
I like freedom loving personally. Freedom loving.
I hate freedom.
America.
Your life pursuit is to live the good life. You're overly expressive.
Whoa. No. Because like
can you be any more vague?
this is exactly how they get you. Because who the fuck is going to say I hate freedom? Who the fuck
I
is
do.
going to say
I hate freedom. I want to be shackled.
I
I
hate?
want to do some shackling. One or the other.
That's post show. Post show. Save it. But I'm just saying, like, who's going to say, I don't want to live the good life. I want to live a shitty life. Who's going to say that? No one. You could say that about any sign out there, and it's going to apply.
I'm weird. I said that when I was like 14. I want to live a shitty life for like 4 years, and they wouldn't let me do it.
I think
Well, now you're making up for it right now.
the article makes, I think, a really good point beyond that is that this is, women tend to buy into this more often, but look at why. It's all over the women's magazines.
Oh, yeah.
It's pushed as a romantic connection thing. Ooh. Every single women's magazine you pick up, not that I do this, well.
You just outed yourself, my friend.
What women's magazine?
Cosmo, baby.
Wait,
That's how I learned everything.
They make one for babies? No shit. No, it starts early.
But let's talk about this, though, because what I was thinking is it pushed on them because they react to it, or do they react to it because it's pushed on them? And that's the real question.
I think they react to it because it's pushed on them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we were just talking about. It's a matter of advertising and manipulation, emotional, cognitive manipulation. It's fed to them across their entire lives.
could be.
That it becomes something that is a reality for them.
I had a hard time even thinking about it because the more I tried to analyze it, the more I realized I'm just making up complete stereotypes of women based on what I've been fed. And that's how I'm analyzing this issue.
Wait a second, dude. Like, what is reality? Because that's where you're going right now, Christian.
No, I'm just saying that, like, if I think about why would they do this to women, what comes to mind is, well, because they're more nurturing. And I'm like, this is just more misogynist horse shit. I mean, that people feed to people in our culture.
Well, even in like the teen magazines, like stuff like Bop or whatever those kids are reading these days. Like 17 and Cosmo Girl and stuff, you see horoscopes in there. You see horoscopes in, Cosmo and all of the other women's magazines. And for some reason, they have inserts at the beginning of the year in Cosmo that's like, what's this year going to be like for you and what sex positions you should try based on when you were born. And it's like, how full of shit are you?
I might be into this one. I don't know.
Just fucking Google it, man.
No, but I'm saying is like, this is the one area where something completely based on something completely random could be positive. I mean, like, trying a sexual position just based on something like astrology, that could be really hot.
How about just try it to try it?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, the chat room wants to remind you that Colbert is a Catholic.
Thank you so much, chat room. How long ago was that? Like a month?
Who cares? You were wrong. You were so wrong, and you're still wrong.
Thank you, chat room. All right, let's move on.
All right, let's move on.
All right, so ABC has cleaned house on their show The View by firing their anti-vaxxer and their evolution-denying flat earther. Who the fuck can find a flat earther in today's age? They managed
did.
The View did.
And they put them on TV and paid them lots of money.
How does that happen?
And she was on the show for 7 years, Sherry Shepherd was.
I know.
Was she talking about it all the time or something?
No, it was just one time. And I've actually got a clip that I'll play in a second.
Is that why they fired him?
Well, no one knows.
Yeah, they haven't actually said
we
why
pretend?
they're leaving it.
That's what I'm advocating.
They're not even saying that they fired them.
Yeah,
No, they are.
Well, yeah, but that's not the official line.
Yeah,
I'm resigning.
Yeah.
They're letting them resign. Yeah.
ABC said they're letting him go.
Well, the thing was that Jenny McCarthy actually tweeted, "If Sherry goes, I go too."
Oh, bye.
So it's like, bye, Felicia.
Peace out.
No.
Like Jenny McCarthy has sucked for a good long
She
time.
has sucked. I'm
She
sure.
has. She has consistently failed as a human being over many.
Oh, I
many
thought you were
years.
talking about a different kind of stuff.
Yes, I know. I was ignoring you. And she actually started her hosting gig on The View by talking about chelation
What?
therapy.
Who?
I forgot. I looked up how to pronounce it. Now I can't remember.
Spell it?
Chelation, I think, right?
Chelation.
Is it
is
chelation
that?
or
I don't know.
chelation?
Chelation therapy. It's basically like it removes heavy metals from your system. And she's advocating this to prevent you from getting autism from all of the vaccines that you've gotten.
But what I think is really funny is that she actually later came out and said, "Oops, my son's not actually autistic."
I know, what's up with that?
Like it's like you
So-
sit here and go on this scientific tirade about, oh, vaccines caused my son's autism, blah blah blah. Oh wait, no, it didn't.
How do you mistake what is it? If it's not autistic, what is it? Just dumb?
It's actually really
It's her
hard.
kid, never mind.
I mean, that's the biggest cause of the rise in autism rates is the change in the definition
Right.
of autism.
Yeah.
It's much broader now. So a lot of children who would not have been diagnosed decades ago are now being diagnosed with being on the spectrum, because the spectrum has just gotten wider, like everything else. Because, and I suspect, I'm not a doctor, but you can if you can diagnose people, you can charge them money, you can sell them drugs.
Yeah. But I don't do it intentionally. I swear to God.
That is the best snort I've heard.
That was like the reverse snort.
What do you call a reverse snort?
A chortle?
Is it a chortle? I was thinking that.
She
when I
had
was-
that. She must do it a lot because she had that like right on the tip of her
No,
tongue.
I do. Actually, that's that Lewis Carroll made up that word.
All right, whatever.
Okay, sure. Anyway.
So, in addition to being a total idiot,
I love when we go on tirades and just tangents. Just like, let's talk about chortle for a minute.
I don't think that person actually made up that word, but we'll
No,
discuss
Lewis
that.
Carroll did. In a.
No, post show.
Okay.
Okay, so
God damn it. I had some street cred.
in addition to being an idiot, reports are that the staff and crew of The View hated the hell out of Jenny McCarthy. They hated her guts.
I don't doubt that, actually.
So Sherry Shepherd, though, who was also fired, they apparently really liked her, and apparently she's very nice, but still dumber than a box of rocks without any actual rocks in it. Let me play the famous clip of her actually saying she did not know if the Earth was round.
Oh my God.
So you don't believe that evolution happened. Are you saying that, so you don't believe it's possible that God, and I'm going to make it in the way that I speak so it's fun, that God sneezed and went, I got a great idea, and created a universe which then took its movement, because I believe
from dinosaurs to birds,
from all of those things, I believe that God has given us a couple of markers to work from.
I believe that.
And so I have to believe that all of the knowledge that he's put into us to learn, he said, listen, take it and run with it. This is why I created you. Is the world flat?
Is the world flat?
Yes.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I never thought about it, Whoopi. Is the world flat? I never thought about it.
You never thought about whether the world was
no, because
round or
but I
flat?
tell you what I've thought about, how I'm going to feed my child,
Well, you
how I'm
can
going
do
to take
both.
care of my family. The world flat has never entered into, that has not been an
What will you
important
teach?
thing to me.
You'll teach your son, Jeffrey,
If my
right?
son, Jeffrey, asked me if the world
Question.
Yeah.
Did this human being go to school?
Yes.
I have no idea.
How did it get through school?
Today.
I just want to know why
In
she called her
Texas.
son Jeffrey.
That's what you get, man.
Huh?
But I think it is really telling what she said. I mean, I think she's not, she knows the earth is round. She knows. She's saying that because she doesn't want to be a part of that group. She wants to be part of the group who is, I'm not science, I'm part of this group who doesn't care about anything except for getting by. You know, she's
So she's playing up the poor stereotype when she's on fucking television making who knows how much?
right. Yeah.
Oh, get
Well,
the
this is-
hell out of here.
But this is exactly what we were just talking about. People will rationalize anything to stay in their in group. So, I mean, but I did think it was also very, very telling that she said, you know, I was thinking about how to feed my child. That is exactly what we were talking about last week, which is as long as things are okay, we're doing, as a movement, atheists are doing well. The second people have to start thinking about where am I getting the next meal, they are going to Jeebus. They're praying, they are, help me, Lord.
Never mind.
It sucks.
So what really gets me is the fact that, you know, Jenny McCarthy was on the show for a year. Sherry Shepherd was on the show for 7 years. Them being on the show and them being allowed to spout off their nonsense just really, it gives validity to these stupid opinions.
So
It angers me.
if they kept him on, it couldn't have been for ratings because now they're kicking him off, presumably for their stupidity.
Well, so their ratings have been suffering, but they're still a big powerhouse. I mean, they still have good ratings. They're just not as good as they used to be. So what ABC is saying is that, and particularly they're losing young people. Young people are not so much about the flat earth stuff. So they're trying, I imagine they're going to come back for an 18th season, and apparently they're going to try and make it.
And this news blurb, I'm sure, will give them an uptick.
Yeah.
So,
So,
whatever.
What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, you know, if you think about it, most of the ratings from The View actually probably come from people just leaving their TV on after Good Morning America. I don't think people are genuinely watching that show. And if they are not the kind of people that we really want in society.
So, what are you suggesting?
If they're dumb enough to watch The View.
They should just shut their TV off.
I love this.
I think that a lot of people aren't watching TV now.
No, I agree with that 100%.
It's on Netflix.
Is it really?
No,
Or are you just making that
is.
up?
I don't doubt that, actually.
No, I think it is. I mean,
Hulu, maybe.
Yeah,
I
Netflix. Hulu.
haven't had television for
It's been
10
4
years, 10
4 years
years,
for
something
me.
like that. And another reason why I don't buy into all the TV shows and shit you guys watch and talk about in post show is some of the advertising shit. It all fucks with your mind. Never mind.
Yeah.
I'm going elsewhere.
No. Although,
Tangenting again.
I gotta say, like, my kids are really, really commercial savvy. I mean, they're still playing mind games with you. But every time a commercial comes on, we talk about it. We're like, you know, okay, what are they trying to do? How are they trying to make you do it?
That's
and,
good.
You know,
That's good. That's very good.
you know, they openly talk about that stuff. It's like, ooh, you know what? They're trying to trick us, Jack. And
You're inoculating them. That's
Yeah.
good. That's excellent.
yeah, I mean,
Good
as
job.
much as you can.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've always wanted to get the gold parenting star from Jay.
That's what everybody strives for.
I am
in
very
life.
judgy when it comes to raising kids, which is why I won't do it.
All right, well, let's move on. to the
Okay,
next
so
story.
let's go to some kind of local-ish news. At least it's in Texas, and of course, only in Texas do cops justify legal force with Jesus because Rambo. and then decides to write a book about it. So Charlie Ivory, he's a former, I guess he's former SWAT. He may still be current SWAT. Says he's confident that Jesus condoned and supported his use of deadly force while in the line of duty. And then he wrote a book about it because Rambo and Jesus. he equates. I'm not going to try and read his entire quote about how there was a scene in Rambo 4 where they were going across a river and all this, but he uses Rambo to justify.
That was really the first thing that really disturbed me was that he said, I'm afraid that people are going to watch, soldiers or cops are going to watch Rambo 4 and take theological lessons from it or, morality lessons from it. It's like, dude, no one is watching Rambo 4 for the theology or the moral lessons, okay?
But the thing was the line that he talks about that he's really worried about is, I know you think what you did is right, but it's never right to take a life. That is the exact line. Now he's all like, wait a minute, what are people going to think about this? And in my line of work as a cop, well, don't kill people if you don't need to.
Right.
The part that shocked me the most is that there was a Rambo 4.
I gotta say, I kind of like that one.
You've seen it?
I have. Oh God! There's this great scene where he's got a 50 cal and he's just like tearing motherfuckers in half.
Who's bloodthirsty here? Hold on.
This is what I'm saying though. Like, if you're afraid that Rambo 4 is going to make you shy about killing people, you have not watched Rambo 4. Literally, he's tearing Asian people in half with a 50 cal.
Are you sure you're not confusing it with Rambo's 1, 2, and 3?
They're all the same movie.
Exactly.
No, this guy, he's kind of got the right idea, though. He does. I mean, Christianity's pretty damn violent. He argues that Jesus is a man of war who will come back, and I quote, there will be a lot of killing going on.
It reminds me of this guy we talked about a few months ago. The guy who said that Jesus was going to come back with an AR-15.
Yeah, forgot about that.
It's the same thing. This is like a thing in the right-wing evangelical community, apparently. What really disturbs me, though, is that this guy is a 16-year veteran of the police force, and he actively said that killing people is a part of his ministry.
Right.
This is not the kind of guy I want in my community with a gun.
No, and he's showing up to all the altercations. Like, he's the one who's getting put in the situation.
But
all I can say is I want that case. Anybody out there, the next time this guy shoots someone, I'm right there for you.
Get with him on Facebook after the show.
Look for the Atheist Airwaves Facebook page. We'll hook you up. First go to the hospital and get your bullet wound taken care of. Holy cow!
I think I might just do it for the money. I'm gonna go piss this guy off.
Well, but I mean, how many situations do you think this guy has put himself in where he hasn't actually had to use deadly force, but has made an excuse for it so he could use the deadly force?
That's what I'm saying. Like I don't want a guy whose ministry is killing people, protecting and serving my community.
I have to wonder what this is born of. And in my mind, it went through, okay, maybe he was put in a situation where he had to use deadly force and felt bad about it and was looking for some reason, some way to feel better. And then he came upon this stupid idea, and now it's his ministry. But does that mean that now he's going to go seek it?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, I think he's glorifying. I mean, it's part of his religious beliefs is killing people. And so, I mean, how can you not glorify it and think this is a great thing to do?
Chat room. Can you Photoshop Jesus as Rambo? I want to see this.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. All right. So, but I really, he's been involved in 2 situations where lethal force had to be used. He said he's been under fire several times is the phrase he used. But I just wonder what the average police officer cannot be involved in 2 lethal shootings.
No.
It cannot be the average. It's probably closer. It's probably less than 1.
It really depends on where you are, your jurisdiction, your precinct, all of that.
He is in Wichita Falls.
I don't really know Wichita Falls that well.
He's half an hour from the Oklahoma border.
Choppa.
Yeah.
Tell us about it, Choppa.
Yeah.
Well, he says that there's a heavy gang presence in Wichita Falls. That's what he says.
I mean, like I said, I mean, average, I don't think you can use the word average in this instance because it is heavily dependent. I've actually got several members of my family who are in law enforcement. So it is heavily dependent upon where you are, what your duties are, what stretch of or what area you're assigned to. So I'm sure that there are plenty of people, plenty of officers who have been involved in multiple fatal shootings. But
Oh, sure. But I'm just saying the average is probably less than one. For
More than likely,
police,
yeah. Like-
police across the country?
Sure.
It has to be less than one.
Yeah, I
Most
agree.
cops don't shoot people.
Yet.
The other... until Jay shows up.
Oh, what? I was talking about till they read the book.
So this guy says he's been shot at several times in his career, but the Lord was watching out for him and his fellow officers. And I really hate this entire empty philosophy. I looked it up, over 20,000 police officers have been killed in the history of this country. And I'm just thinking, what does he say to the families of those officers? I mean, 100 to 200 officers get killed every year currently. And I mean, how many lunch breaks does God get? I mean, is he just
1 to 200 apparently.
It's like, sorry, bros, you're on your own for this one. I got a couple of hotties and a tall boy. I just learned what that was today.
The white girl had to explain it to him. I actually want to point something out from, it was an episode I just watched the other day on YouTube, episode 17, where Justin actually said, why is it so difficult to be able to distinguish religion from mental illness? And if they were to do a psychiatric evaluation on someone who was just saying, oh, I have a need to kill all these people, but then they would probably, take the firearm from them. But the fact that he is putting Jesus into it and calling it religion, it's...
I think that there is a very real difference between mental illness and faith. And I think that a professional could very easily tell the difference between the two. I think you're right in that on paper, it looks very similar. I mean, if you're telling me you hear voices and you're doing things, and then another person tells you that, Jesus talks to you and tells you to do things like invade Iraq,
That's a good point.
On paper, it sounds very similar, but I think in actuality, it's very
No,
different.
I mean, you can equate it to the, excuse me, you can equate it to the exorcism thing that's going on, like overseas in Europe where they're training all these exorcists to diagnose this crap. I mean, again, mental illness versus some sort of demonic possession that's religious. Right. It's a very, very, very thin gray line.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and queue up the call-in line. Do you agree with that? Okay, cool. If you have a question, comment, or whatever, just Skype us. It's Atheist Airwaves, all in one word, or you can call us at 515-51-WAVES.
So you want to read off? I actually have it right there.
515-519-2837.
All right. So if you have something to talk about, please call in. Have something to talk about. We have ADD, so you have to get our attention quickly. But we can move on to more stories.
Let's move on to some short ones in case we get some calls.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about a local one, the Corpus Christi one?
Oh, let's do that.
Yeah, do that.
Definitely.
So I'm so excited about this because we finally got our own Corpus Christi kid fucker.
I mean, how else do you say it?
It's close to home now.
We have to stop doing shows together. So Corpus Christi has allegedly gotten their own child buggering priest. Monsignor Michael Eras, pastor of St. Peter Prince of the Apostles Parish. Wow, say that 5 times fast.
Peter Piper
Peter Prince of Apostles Parish.
picked a peck of pickled peppers?
Yeah.
He picked something else.
Unfortunately. So he resigned this week after a complaint was filed about a so far undisclosed incident that occurred 25 to 30 years ago. Shock and surprise, the church has turned the complaint over to local law enforcement, which I'm just like, how does that even happen in this day and age?
That was actually quick for the Catholic Church.
Yeah, right?
You'd figure they would just move him to a different parish and hide it for about a couple of years.
They have moved him. They're keeping him under supervision in an undisclosed location with Dick Cheney. Probably they're hunting. I don't know. Which could be really good.
He's only been at this Saint Peter Pecta Pickle Peppers for like 8 years, and he was at Our Lady Perpetual Help before that. So this is probably from the OLPH era back then.
It was way long ago.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things that really bothered me about this thing. That, I mean, aside from the fact that he's allegedly a
diddling kids.
Right. So first, when the story first broke, local news outlets did nothing but run the Catholic Church's freaking press release. That's all they did. They printed it, they read it live on the air. That's all they did. No analysis, no reporting. This is Christian privilege in a nutshell.
Word for word.
Yeah. I mean, the Catholic Church said it, and the media dutifully repeated it.
And, when I think the thing that really got me the most is all of the comments on Facebook. All these people are going, oh, well, we don't know exactly what happened. At the moment, it's just an investigation about these accusations. And it's kind of like, you know what? There's a reason for the investigation. There is a reason that this man has since resigned.
Right. I would agree with that, you probably don't resign if there's nothing to the allegations. However, we don't know if he's actually guilty of anything. What's really bugging the crap out of me about local Catholics, though, is that there are people who are not just saying, let's wait till the facts come out, which I would find understandable. They are actively saying this guy didn't do it, and whoever this person is who is accusing him of things, they're lying.
Yeah, they're talking about how great of a guy he is, and oh my gosh, he did so much for me, and he taught scripture so well, and blah blah blah. And it's
so if they haven't released his identity, how do they know who it is?
No, they released their priest's identity or whatever. They just haven't
Senior
released.
Michael Eres.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I was thinking they hadn't released.
They just haven't released the name of
the alleged victim.
The victim. Yeah.
Oh.
And this is nowhere near the first one we've had here in Corpus. As a local Catholic, I saw this a lot, and I saw the suppression. I know that there were lawsuits involving it. I know a kid who was molested by a deacon before he became a priest. He was one of the first year deacon before you become a priest. He was molested. His parents and people close to him at the ordination got threatened with excommunication by the bishop. What? I am not kidding you, because they were protesting. They weren't protesting with signs. When they came up to do the actual ordination, they turned their backs to him.
Wow.
And they were threatened with excommunication. They had letters sent to them by the bishop saying, if you don't stop, you're no longer a member of the Catholic Church, which to a Catholic, that means you're going to hell.
Right.
That's what we were threatened with at the time. And if you don't stop complaining about this priest, who's now a priest, then you're going to hell, as far as we're concerned.
That's crazy. So 2 things going on in the chat room right now. One is a bunch of the local Catholics are giving the names of the priests that they thought were more likely to have buggered children than this guy.
Kensai87 actually did correct me that he was only moved from OLPH last year.
Okay.
Can we stop using the word bugger and just go back to fuck?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank you, because I don't like buggering.
Okay. Well, I just thought, I'd change it up a little bit. So the other thing, Tech Leslie in the chat room says, whatever happened with that priest wrestling thing that happened in the area 20 years ago? Anyone remember that? Please, someone remember what that is. I need to know this. Priest wrestling? I would pay money to see that.
Is that like midget wrestling? I mean, what? Please, tell me.
It's priests and little boys, of course.
Oh, like...
Mud wrestling. I don't fucking know.
Oh, I'm like, what?
I was fucking 7 years old. I was in freaking
first
grade. No, we weren't Catholic. We were Episcopalian, which is just Catholicism light without the molestation.
For you?
Yeah, because I was a girl.
Oh.
I still am.
Girls do seem pretty safe in the church, which is like...
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, that's like the only
place to go. Yeah. Seriously,
well, the stereotype is the altar boy, and it wasn't until it was a few years on before they started letting girls be altar servers. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think that might be part of it, because I know that with the guy that I knew who was molested, it was while he was an altar boy.
Dude, I was the Episcopalian equivalent. I was an acolyte. But, I mean, again, I was a girl, so I wasn't really privy to any of that molestation.
They like the penis.
Good thing you don't have one, or you hide it really well. One or the other.
Super well.
I mean, I haven't looked for one, so I don't know how she hides it, but...
So, in other child fucking news,
Yeah, let's go with that.
We've talked about Archbishop Joseph Wisłowski in the past. He was in the Dominican Republic where he allegedly raped kids. So the church moved him to Poland, of course, where he... Anyone?
Raped kids?
Raped kids.
Fuck.
And
kids.
when local authorities started to investigate, they
Raped kids?
moved him...
Gangbang.
Altar boy gangbang.
Oh, dear. So when local authorities in Poland started to investigate Archbishop Wisłowski, come back to us when you're ready, Jay. They moved him out of that country to avoid him getting charged. So this week, the Vatican actually defrocked the child defrocker. And not only that, but they also leveled the harshest penalty the Vatican has against a cleric, which is great news until you hear what that is.
And that is?
He can't call himself a priest anymore.
Yeah.
That is... Right. Oh my goodness. How horrible. Someone called the UN Human Rights Council. Have them check in on this guy to make sure he's okay.
Apparently, there is a database called bishop-accountability.org that has a database of priests accused of sexual assault.
That's a big database, isn't it?
I've seen that.
I'm not going there.
Okay, so about 20...
So if you have kids and they're frustrated, they can use it as like a dating service? Is that what's...
Oh my God. Even I wouldn't go there.
I'll just edit it
That's
out.
bad. You do need to stop doing shows with me.
All right. So I want to be fair because actually, now that they've defrocked him, they're going to put him through a criminal trial if he doesn't appeal his defrocking. This is the thing that really just pushed me over the edge, though. The Vatican only recently updated their laws to make fucking kids an actual crime.
Right.
It has not been a crime for thousands of years. They had to make it a crime. I'm not even kidding.
Well, this goes back to the guy last week who was like, I'm not sure if it was really wrong to fuck a kid.
Right. Well, obviously there was a reason to think that because there was nothing wrong with that according to Vatican City. So the prosecutor back in Poland who was investigating Wisłowski up until the point where the Vatican spirited him away, his name is, or her name, I can't tell, Katarasla Kalodafrasava. Very Polish.
That's racist.
I love how he approaches the mic when he's approaching the fucking bench.
Your Honor,
I object. That's racist.
I plead guilty.
I usually don't object to that.
So he or she said that Wisłowski's defrocking, quote, doesn't change the situation in our proceedings for the time being. Good luck to those people trying to get this guy back into the country, though, because you know they're going to continue to protect this guy. He's in, exactly like Monsignor Ferris, he's in protective supervision, so he's at like Club Med banging their little brothel of little boys, allegedly.
Do you think they have a brothel of little boys?
I do.
At Club Med?
I've heard that. I can't reveal my sources, but I've heard that's true.
You know, I tune out to this website for like 2 minutes, and then you go into like Club Med and brothels, and I'm so fucking lost right now. I just don't know what's going on.
You don't want to know.
So how is it that they defrock him, they tell him he can't be a priest, but then they protect him? Like,
right?
Aren't you basically being kicked out of the fucking church at that point?
First, they protected him. So first, they got him out of the country because they're like, the Dominican Republic is after him, Poland is after him. Get him home so nothing can happen to the guy. Then we're going to say, oh, he's not really a priest anymore, so everything's cool, and we're going to just take care of it. No, fuck you. Send him back and let him face the music for what he did in those countries. That is what, I mean, that's what America should do. We don't do that either. I don't get it.
You know there's a solution for that.
We should just kill him.
That's my go-to now, by the way.
One of us has to quit the show for a couple of weeks so that I can get my brain back. Pope Francis has told reporters that there were, quote, no privileges for anyone who violated a child, and he promised zero tolerance for abuse at all levels, which you can totally tell is completely legitimate by the way they spirited him out of the country. They hid him. I mean, basically, they hid him from the authorities. So obviously, they have zero tolerance. Fuck you.
Okay, so we still got some time left, but we've got a billion stories. What do you want to hit next? We're going to jump back and do some good, fun stuff?
Susan, can you talk about the CFI thing? Because I just love the hell out of public shaming. And
Oh, yes.
that was a good one.
So, at a meeting of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Switzerland last week, Josephine McIntosh, she is a representative for the Center for Inquiry for the UN Human Rights Council.
I love her.
She is rad. She was attempting to read a statement condemning the human rights abuses that are going on in Saudi Arabia. She was interrupted, not once, not twice, but 3 times by the representatives from Saudi Arabia.
I love that. So one of the things that I learned from this story, and you should all go because the video is available. You can watch the video. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing that I learned from this story is the UN is fucking boring as hell. Oh my God.
You think?
I mean, the people who were reacting to what was going on, the US, France, Ireland, who else? Canada. They were all, Saudi Arabia was like, you cannot allow them to talk to us this way.
Yeah, he actually said, I ask you to shut her up.
That's why I love that they got a woman to go and publicly shame these misogynist motherfuckers, because that was amazing. But literally every time one of the supportive countries, they sounded like they were reading a prepared statement, like they knew what Saudi Arabia was going to say.
Okay, so let's step back a second here. What were they saying?
Okay, so...
Well, okay, the statement that she was reading, it was in reference to the persecution of dissidents, like people who were, opposing the religion and the government in the country and everything. There were 2 in particular. It was Raif Badawi, there we go, and Walid Abu al-Kahir. So, Badawi, I am the worst at pronunciations. So, Badawi is the founder of a website. It encourages free and open discussion on topics like religion and politics and all that sort of things.
He's an atheist apostate.
Yeah. So, he's arrested on charges of insulting Islam and apostasy. So, he was eventually sentenced to 10 years and 1,000 lashes.
And that was actually increased from, I think, 6 years and 600. Yeah.
And
And then they were like, no, that can't stand.
Yeah.
We got to really mess this guy up.
So Al-Kar was charged with breaking allegiance to and disobeying the ruler. Al-Kar was actually the lawyer for Badawi.
And he's in for 20 now.
Yeah, he faces up to 20 years in prison. He was also, charged with disrespecting authorities and offending the judiciary as well.
They did drop the apostasy, though, didn't they?
No.
Well, because the apostasy was the one that would have faced the death penalty. So they did drop the apostasy. He's just going to have the 10 years and 1,000 lashes.
How the fuck do I know this better than you do?
Bam. You were awesome. Okay. So this is why I freaking love Josephine, though, because what she did is she went in and read a statement that basically said, we all need to respect non-believers and all, in all of the country, all over the world. For example, in Saudi Arabia, they are doing this. And they were like, whoa, do not talk about us in our own United Nations.
Triple snap and everything?
Yes, that's what Saudi Arabia did because they're
They're sassy.
Yeah, they're a little bit sassy.
Well, they were just getting all butthurt that they were bringing to light before this Human Rights Council that they're committing these gross human rights violations. And
here's the thing though, you watch this video, it's the most boring thing you'll ever see.
It really was.
It's so boring, your eyes will glaze over. You'll probably pass out.
I had to watch it 3 times because I kept tuning it out. Seriously did.
It's like listening to NPR talk about paint drying.
Oh, okay. I was all like, wait a minute, I like NPR.
It's all really
and I'm
monotone.
Diane Ream.
Well, what was the deal with the signs? It was like when they talked, they actually moved their country signs. Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. But yeah, they said the exact same thing. The U.S., Canada, and was it France? They all had the same exact statement replacing U.S. for France for Canada. So they obviously knew this was happening. That or else this is so canned that.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know. Like if they have like a script that they just, oh, this happened, so we click here and we get the script for this eventuality. Because it really sounded like they were just reading stuff. Mm-hmm. But I have to give mad props to Saudi Arabia because we wouldn't be talking about it. No one would have ever heard of CFI going and talking about the UN in this boring freaking statement if these guys hadn't been like, I ask you to shut her up.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yes, thank you. Yeah. And they did it 3 times. And they had this big thing. No one would have cared or heard about it.
Ultimately, Ireland, Canada, the U.S., they all sided with
the CFI. Yeah. So, CFI has been on my shit list for a number of years because they kind of suck about a lot of things. But I love the hell out of them for doing this. Yeah.
Nobody got my Diane Rehm joke.
I don't know what that is.
I don't get it.
I thought you fuckers listen to NPR.
Diane Rehm is not somebody who's on NPR right now.
Did she actually die finally?
Probably, because it's like, I'm trying to think. Anyway,
sorry.
We want to talk about ISIS?
They're all thinking Archer.
Yeah, I can't not think Archer when you say ISIS.
They actually changed their name now because it was... what was it that ISIS originally stood for?
Something for Syria and Israel.
Yeah, it's Islamic
State of Iraq and Syria.
Yes.
Now they're just doing Islamic State. So they're just the ICE. They're just the ICE of ISIS.
Depends on what the meaning of the word is. Okay, well, I can talk about it if you don't want to.
Oh, is this okay? Well, there's
your story.
Well, there's 2 different fucking ISIS stories.
Yeah, you start and I'll finish.
Okay, so I don't really exactly know who ISIS is, but they've got a good plan, and I think we should probably copy them.
All right, okay, let me stop this. Let's talk about a different thing.
No, they're charging Christians protection money, and they're charging them a tax. It's $250 at minimum each, and increasing based upon what your job is, basically.
Well, and the other thing is that it's $250 protection money if you are an individual Christian living in the areas they control, but it's $500 if you're a couple.
Right.
It's like you can use you can offer some Christians a discount. Come on.
You only have to pay $450. You get a $50 discount for the bulk rate.
I like this for 3 reasons. I think we should adopt this.
Okay. I'll go with you right now.
They call this jizya.
That's what I was going to say. Just in case you weren't aware that ISIS was fucking you, they're calling it jizya.
Okay. 2. Okay, half the Christian population has fled since 2003.
Yeah.
This is a good plan for us.
Do you know why?
No, but it's a good plan for us.
Because I read that half the Christian population of Iraq left the country when we invaded. And I was like, why would they leave as the Christians were getting there with big, massive guns? The reason is because George Bush kept saying crusade, 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 crusade. And so all the Muslims in the country were like, you motherfucking Christians in the Crusades, we're gonna mess you up.
We remember the last Crusades, assholes. Fool me once, shame on me.
We can't be fooled again.
Okay, well, scratch reason 2 then, but reason 3, profit. I mean, we're making money off the Christians. They've been making...
We're not.
No, I'm saying if we do this.
If we do this?
Yeah.
Oh, so we should do this like in Reb's neighborhood. We should just go door to door.
Yes, and tax them.
Are you Christian?
We're going to be...
Would you like your house to be burned down or not?
We'll become the fucking mafia. We will charge them a protection tax, and hopefully we'll have the same result where they wind up fleeing.
Oh, dear.
Well, what I guess the thing that really, really bugs me about this is... I always make a mistake and always go and read the comments.
Oh, dear.
That's such a bad idea. But all of these people are sitting there saying, oh, my God, this is, Christians around the world are just so persecuted, and all of the Christians just need to come to America. And I'm just like, fuck, man, we don't need more of you here.
Which
we
is
really
why
don't.
we need to make our own ISIS. Let's we should make our own ISIS.
Do you want Christians? Because this is how you get Christians.
All right. So this is
Mike.
all right. So this is not even the worst thing that's happening under ISIS, or is. I'm not sure.
No, this is good. This is fucking epic.
Okay, well, it gets worse because this group, Al Qaeda, actually broke ties with them.
Yeah, they're like, fuck these guys.
You guys are crazy. Al Qaeda said you guys are way too extreme, and so we're not talking to you anymore. That's who these guys are.
Well, they're pretty much controlling like the entire north and west, aren't they?
Of Iraq, yeah.
And it's just like
they're in Syria also,
like
obviously.
holy shit, dude.
Well, this is one of the other things that just cracks me up because when we went in 2003, all the Christians left Iraq and they went to Syria, which is where all these guys started.
they're like, God damn it.
Oh, that sucks.
So will this mean all the Christians go to Canada?
What?
If we do it here, where are they going to flee?
Well, I would go to Mexico if I were them because it's closer.
But they don't like brown people.
Who, Christians?
Yeah.
Aren't most of the Christians down here brown people?
Well, I'm not talking
Most
about
of the
here.
people down here are brown people.
All right.
Is that
Can we
racist? Is
Yes.
that racist?
All right. So, let me tell you about ISIS. So they have posted laws in all the areas that they can now control in Iraq, and their greatest hits include things like all Muslims will be treated well. That's a law. Unless they are allied with the oppressors or help criminals. So that's the one exception. Anyone who steals or loots is now having their limbs amputated.
All of them?
I don't know. You would have to ask them. And if Al Qaeda thinks they're too crazy to talk to, maybe you don't want to. That's what I'm saying.
I'll talk to these fuckers.
They have banned all drugs, all alcohol, and all cigarettes.
Man, it sounds pretty boring.
Yeah. Rival political groups no longer tolerated. There is one political group, and you will obey. Police and military officers are allowed to repent, but anyone else who insists upon apostasy faces death by crucifixion and other means.
How do you crucify a torso if you've already amputated it?
And the thing about their version of apostasy is it's very narrow. They don't even believe that most Muslims are Muslim.
Right.
They're a radical Sunni sect, and you believe this. If you're Shiite, you're gone. If you're Sufi, you're gone.
Yep.
They're the Westboro of Muslims, basically, the Westboro. Pretty much.
Yep. So they have implemented Sharia law. Graves and shrines are not allowed and will be destroyed. I didn't even know that was a Muslim thing.
Yeah.
You can't have gravestones. Well, okay. Women have been told definitively that stability at home is a necessity and they should not go outside unless it's necessary. And if they do, they should be completely covered in full Islamic dress.
Is that because they like pale women or what? I mean,
I would be a hit over there, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you could not take off the burqa because you would blind everybody in the desert. This is my favorite thing, though, because the last law that they have declared is you must be happy to live in an Islamic land. I don't know how they're judging that. I mean, if they have like one of those things where you grip the thing and the lights go, and
mood rings, brother, mood rings.
Mood rings. That's what it is. I'm sorry, you're black. That is not. This is not sufficient mood for an Islamic land. It's crazy. All right, we're done.
Are we done?
We're totally done.
We're gonna move to post show.
We're gonna move to post show and talk about tying people up
and chortling.
Chortling. Those are the two things. If anyone, no one called in, but if you would like to call in during the post show,
go fuck yourself. You should have called in during the regular show. Thank you for listening to Atheist Airwaves on Secular FM Radio. We're sponsored by Corpus Christi Atheist and the South Texas Coalition of Reason. If you would like to compliment, complain, make a suggestion, which you aren't going to do because you're not calling in anyway, but you can write us if you'd like. It's god@atheistairwaves.com. Thank you to Tombstone to Dead Man for our outro music. Look for him on Facebook. his music's pretty awesome.
And you can listen to him on Spotify. Look us up on Facebook, Atheist Airwaves. See you guys next week.
Later.
Bye.
Being a skeptic means so much more than being an atheist. And until you accept that, you won't relate to this. The cognitive dissonance that you experience is when there's things you claim to believe in but ain't living it. Most of you say you are the type to question everything until I hear the conspiracy theories that you echoing. And when I scrutinize the things you try to say are lies, expose your sources as suspect, I see your logic dies. Some still believe in pseudosciences, engage in special pleading when theists use the exact same reasoning. I've even seen atheists use arguments from ignorance and seem pressed to tell me exactly just what the difference is. A skeptic without the ability to analyze is just as bad as a theist, cause he'll probably accept a lie. Just as long as it verifies all his biases, applying it to his knowledge pool, and then he's diving in. So I'm not saying that some conspiracies do not exist. I'm just saying that a lot of them are some bullshit. So I'ma call a spade no matter who asserts that nobody's perfect, and just one lie, then it's all perverted. Bring down the curtains on that sad display. The only ways to question yourself and all the things you say. Start the day, and maybe we can rise above and be examples for others to emulate, and that's the way we win this battle. So this is where I'm making my stand, and now regardless who don't like it or how they get mad, see why the rest of y'all capitulate and go with the plan. I'll be beating on this wall until I'm breaking my hand. So listen, my state official policy, no matter how I'm threatened with hell, then never silence me. I know that you don't see this as imperative, but I refuse to lose and let the stupid frame the narrative.
Statement of fact.
You are racist. You are racist, Susan Turpin.
She's accurate, though.
It is like 67%.
I am not saying it in a detrimental
It's like
way.
67%.
Yeah, so most. That's more. That's way more than a majority.
It's like 17% more. For those of you who are doing math at home.
So,
Chortling. Okay, so let's get this argument out of the way.
blend of chuckle and snort coined by Lewis Carroll and Through the Looking Glass, 1871. So it was probably from...
Eat that shit.
How do you like them
I think it was
apples?
from Jabberwocky.
I
It's
don't
not Jabberwocky.
Or is it Walrus and the Carpenter? It's one or the
It's
other.
gotta be Walrus and the
Okay.
Carpenter.
I have no idea. Like this
really
is-
I don't know what any of that is.
Really the slithy toes did
Yeah.
Gyre and Gibble in the Wave. Yeah.
What is Walrus and the Carpenter? I've heard
Part
the term.
part of Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll.
Is that the Alice in Wonderland thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one that you
Okay.
see in
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
Through the Looking Glass.
What about it?
That's where it was first.
Where have I heard this? Through the Looking Ass. Where is that?
That's probably a porn.
No, it had something to do with the BDSM community. It might have been a camp at Flipside last year.
Okay. So how much rope do you need to tie someone up?
Okay, I'm going to say this again.
Or-
It depends on what you're doing.
Okay, what choices do you have? What's on the menu?
There's a big fucking menu.
All right. So what do you prefer?
Start simple.
Yeah, there you go.
You're
totally not on camera, but
Oh, I mean, I don't care. I'll be on camera. There's simple single column ties. You just want to tie